So welcome to this online meeting of Area Committee 1. The agenda was on the modern.gov website. So I'm just going to go around and maybe ask people to introduce themselves for the recording. So my name is Councillor Kaz Self from Southmead, and I'm the chair of this committee. So if we can go around, if I can ask you, Jeremy, to introduce yourself.
Yep. My name's Jeremy Livitt from Democratic Services, and I'm clerking the meeting.
Julia, please.
Thank you. Julia Foligno, Community Resources Programme Manager.
Megan.
Thanks. Megan Harnedy, Development Officer and Community Resources.
Don.
Don Alexander, one of the councillors for Avonmouth and Lawrence Western Ward.
Mark. You're on mute.
Sorry, Mark Weston, one of the councillors for Henbury and Brentry Ward.
Josh.
Josh Lerner, Local Transport Manager. Thank you.
And Zoe.
Councillor for Avonmouth and Lawrence Western.
And Zoe, just to note, this meeting is being recorded. So we've got a slide which Jeremy just wants to share with you before we get into the meat of this.
Yep, I'll just share that with everyone now. Just a sec. Here it is. We don't have any members of the public in attendance, but so I won't read it out, which is what I was going to do if there were members of the public here. But it just explains the process. If any members of the public do attend, they come in mute essentially, and then if there is a situation where they're speaking, they're enabled so that they can speak and then put back on to mute. So I'll just stop sharing that now.
Thank you.
That's that.
So moving on to apologies. I haven't got any records of apologies myself. I do know that I will apologise for my fellow councillor Kaider because I know he's working. So if we can record that one, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any specifically. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest? Take that as a no. Public forum. No public forum. So moving on to agenda item 5, which is an update from Bristol City Council departments. And the first item here is a city transport update, which Kai has turned up. Thank you. Kai, I just apologised for you and you've turned up. Well done. We are recording this, by the way.
I'm happy to cover whatever this committee would like me to cover, really. So before I waffle on, is there any particular projects or updates councillors in this committee are looking for that I could update on, or do you want me to give a general update on the existing schemes?
Certainly, I think a general update would be good, but I know there was a call for sort of 20-mile-an-hour roads to be identified. And we've got a question from Councillor Weston. So over to you, Mark, and you'll be unmuted, I believe.
I took myself off there. I've learned my lesson, Chair. Thank you. Actually, I was going to ask about the 20-mile-an-hour because we put forward 2 roads in my ward for consideration to adopt 20-mile-an-hour or 2 stretches of road. And I was going to ask if I can have an update on how that process works, consultation, TROs, etc. And I wondered if maybe Josh could fill me in on that, or fill us in on that.
So yeah, sure. I mean, I'm I've got my road safety team are currently working on this, so we've got all the requests, which is great. What they've been working on over the last couple of months is the criteria and the type of kind of, I guess, intervention we would look to do. Things like, would it just be our signs and lines? What's appropriate when we do something more significant, like physical build outs? So we're going through that sort of prioritization process about what we think is the right thing for the sites that we've been recommended. So we're getting to a place now where we've looked at all the locations that have been put forward by all the committees, and we're starting to bring together some ideas for how we can upgrade the roads to 20 miles per hour. What I will do is I will send you a bit of an overview following this meeting about the criteria and the process that we're looking at to get this actually on the ground. Because what we are looking to do is just do one TRO for all the projects that we have ready, which saves money and it also allows us to be a bit more efficient as well. So the road safety team leading on that, I would have bought a better update had I known you wanted an update on that one. I was focusing more on the area committee scheme, so sorry about that. But what I will do is I'll send you over a bit of an overview briefing in the days following this, if you don't mind.
That would be great, and thank you very much. And just to point out as well, South Gloucestershire, because one of the schemes is Hallen Road, which goes to the South Gloucestershire border. South Gloucestershire Council are actually looking at their side of the border for a 20. So if we're going to do stuff on ours, it makes sense to sort of dovetail in with a bit of them, because we don't want them hurtling from theirs at 60 to then hit our 20, if you know what I mean.
Have you been in contact with South Gloss about that, Councillor West?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Great. If my team aren't aware of that, if you could send me the contact details,
of course,
that'd be really useful. And I'll make sure they follow that up for sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome, Councillor Udin. We're recording this and we're up to agenda item 5, which is some updates from city council departments. So we're just looking for city transport updates on that agenda item. So, Josh, I think you were going to maybe tell us a bit more about things that you know of.
I'll give you a really high-level overview about what we're progressing at the moment. Obviously, last time I came to the committee, we gave an overview of the schemes, the historical schemes that were live, and whether there was any schemes that needed to be deprioritised or stay in the mix. So as it stands, we've got Springfield Avenue, which is the sort of drop curbs in the Shirehampton area, which is quite advanced now. With the construction drawings are being prepared, and we're looking to implement that this financial year. We'll be in a position to give a defined date quite shortly on that, which is encouraging. The Henbury Road traffic calming is also being progressed. It's more of an earlier stage. It's more likely to be delivered next year, but we've got an engineer sort of assigned to that. We've got the Long Cross, Lawrence Western Verge improvements. So we've got a project team assigned to that. It's a QA2, and I believe I've been told councillors are being kind of informed about this scheme and kept updated. If that's not the case, then do let me know. But in the notes here in my programme, it says that the draft proposal is being discussed with councillors. So if that's wrong, let me know.
Not yet, Josh, but there's quite a lot of history to this and some previous instances of attempts, with some success actually, to sort this out. So I really would like to shove my oar in, if I may.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
If you haven't got an update on that, I will. I'll follow that up with my team.
Thank you.
When I'm back in the office tomorrow morning. We've got the Merebank Verge parking, which is improving the public realm and infrastructure within the street of Merebank. And we've got £80,000 assigned to that, which is a slight increase following the recent committee report. And we now have a project team on that. That's more of a kind of earlier stage, looking to be delivered next financial year. We've got the King's Western Road Blaze crossing as well, and the King's Western Lane Long crossing, which we're currently developing at the moment. Again, that's being delivered next financial year. So those are the kind of, that's a bit of a broad overview. The imminent schemes, I guess, is Springfield Avenue, is the one that's on the very kind of short term horizon. But of course, we've then got the new area committee schemes that will start coming through from next year, where things will get a lot more, hopefully a lot more kind of effective and a lot more interesting. We'll get some more far-reaching schemes coming forward as well. I think hopefully some of you were on the call last week about the new process. I'm aware there's still a lot of I guess explaining to do in terms of how that works with the new map-based issues logging. We will be setting up an explainer on that to give more clarity over how that will be done. But that's obviously going to bring about a lot of new projects next year, which I'm really excited to get involved with. So yeah, I'll leave it there. But yeah, any particular requests? Obviously, I've got an action from Councillor Weston on 20 mile per hour schemes. But anything else, just let Julia know or Megan know, and I can get a more detailed update if you'd like that.
Thanks for that, Josh. Have we got any more questions for Josh at all? Mark?
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick one. On schemes like the Henbury Road traffic calming one, I know you've tasked an engineer. It would be good, if possible, and on similar schemes like this, if whoever you've tasked could just touch base with us before they get really into the weeds on it, because we might have local knowledge that they're not aware of, or conditions or whatever else. And I'd hate for them to go away and do 9 months worth of work, come back and we go, well, that's not going to fly, and so it would be good. That's my only point, Chair.
Councillor West.
Thank you for that, Mark. I just wanted to pick up on the sort of possible future proposals and the Improve My Street tool, which I still need to get my head around. But I think at some point in the future, Josh, it would be good for you to come back to us and just talk us through that. I don't know about other councils, but I certainly want to sort of look at all the things that have been logged on there and try to get my head around it. Just haven't done yet.
So what we'll do, if we set something up before we launch it, and we'll demo how it's used, and we'll also show you what's historically, I guess, been logged, and make sure you're all au fait with how it works, so you know what you're talking about when you're speaking to your constituents, for sure. So I'll make sure that we get something in before that kind of that mapping system launches.
Great, thanks for that. Okay, well, if there are no more questions for Josh, we can let you go. Josh, thanks for that update. Really appreciate it.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Josh. Councillor Self, Richard Fletcher is here from Parks and Green Spaces. If we could have them attend, and Susie Felton before Ken Lawson from Waste, if you don't mind.
Sure. So welcome, Richard and Susie. Just to say, this is being recorded, but you've come in at just the right time. So I will just pass it over to you for any updates you want to give us, please.
Thank you, Councillor. I think what we're going to give you is, I'll do just a quick segue into kind of grounds maintenance, which is something that committee's asked to be updated on, and also touch on the presentation that we did last week to all councillors regarding information to support area committee decisions on devolved funding. And then I'll segue to pass to Susie to do an update on any project delivery that you've got in your area. So the main thing just to update in terms of grounds maintenance is that well, actually, I'll segue into the information that we provided to all councillors last week. So what we're working on at the moment is some map-based information to that you can access to help you with your considerations when allocating devolved SIL to communities. And as part of that package, we'll be providing data on our strategic direction in the Parks and Green Space strategy and how we're meeting provision standards or not on different types of space, including children's play. We're providing some information on asset condition, particularly focusing on play areas, because that is an area of focus or has traditionally been for area committees. We are going to provide some information on managing for nature, which I'll come back to in a moment, in terms of where we're investing or seeking to invest to improve sites for biodiversity. And then we're going to provide information on grounds maintenance features and regimes that we apply to parks across the city. So touching on the latter for a second. So what we're doing at the moment is we are trying to roll out a system, or we are rolling out a system where grounds maintenance crews will receive jobs, which are basically grounds maintenance tasks, on tablets, and they then implement those jobs and update when they've been completed. We've rolled that out in the south of the city. We're rolling it out in the north of the city now, and central and east parts of the city are next. The idea being is that you'll be able to access data about what we're doing on site and also whether we've done it to date. So if you like, get some kind of real-time feedback on our grounds maintenance performance. Now, I'm aware there are some real communications problems with presenting that data because there are a number of factors that affect how quickly or slowly we're able to do grounds maintenance tasks, the weather being the primary one, which I'm sure you're aware of, but also how resources ebb and flow a little bit, the availability of machinery, and other things like that. So in terms of how we communicate to the public about how we're doing in terms of grounds maintenance performance, that is something which I need to think hard about. However, in terms of providing upfront information about what type of features we are and what we should be doing to those features, that is something that I'm hoping to provide earlier rather than later as part of this package of information. In terms of managing for nature, area committees have asked to be updated in terms of changes to grounds maintenance regimes. And I guess the biggest change, which is kind of coming forward, is changing grounds maintenance regimes to manage sites better for nature to help us get towards our 30% target that was set out in the Ecological Emergency Declaration. So we received some funding from the Combined Authority to take forward a pilot project to change some of our grass cutting maintenance regimes in some parks over a 2-year pilot project. But that's the kind of the front end of a process whereby we'll be trying to change sites in terms of managing for nature going forward. We'll be concentrating on sites that align with the Nature Recovery Network, which is at a much wider than Bristol scale. So sites where basically if we improve our management of those sites for nature, they will have an enhanced benefit to biodiversity because of their location and connections to other sites, etc. So we'll provide that information in terms of where our areas of search are, in other words, where there are opportunities to change and invest in managing for nature. And then as we go through that and make those changes, we can make those changes live to our grounds maintenance map, and you can see that happen. So that's the kind of future over the next 12 to 18 months. We will be consulting communities when we're making change for nature, not in 100% of the cases where we don't think it's necessarily needed, but there are other times when, of course, local information on how sites are used by communities and recreationally and functionally is going to be important information to feed in to those decisions. But because of that big trend, getting to 30% by 2030 is a big target. Then there will be some significant changes potentially in some parks. So we'll keep you abreast of those changes as we're moving forward. I'm feeling like I've forgotten something, but I think that's roughly it that I was going to introduce. I don't know whether you would like to ask some questions on that before we go to Susie in a projects update.
Yes, well, we've got 2 questions, 2 hands raised, so I'll go to you first, Councillor Weston.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Richard. I guess one of my questions is, what do we do if we disagree on this? And how much weight will we put to that? And the example of that is quite frequently Parks Department leaves somewhere like Oakbourne Open Space as almost entirely meadow. And actually local residents have sort of said, actually, they don't mind half of it going to meadow, but they do like to have picnics and, kick a football around and, all the rest of it, as you would expect on the rest of it. And so it seems that every May we have to remind you guys to do a mow so they can use part of that park. So I just want to be sure that when you're saying that there's going to be quite a significant change, we're still going to allow room for play in parks as well and recreational use.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, it's a, I would call it a tension, but it's an internal debate constantly about this. So I'm pretty clear that parks and green spaces are, mostly a recreational function, and I think getting to 30% is a challenge. I think it's achievable, but we have to be really nuanced about where we do it and where we're getting it wrong. I think we need to know that. So I think in the last few years, really driven from austerity cuts before the ecological emergency declaration, we had to roll back some of our grass maintenance regimes in terms of our grass cutting and introduce longer grass and one cut grass and that sort of stuff. And we didn't always get that right first. And I think we did listen to feedback, and it was changed over time. And I think we settled on a pattern that seemed to be accepted. We're going through the same process again, but maybe a bit more forward thinking in terms of presenting material to people that they can actually comment on. So where it's not working, we definitely want to hear back. I definitely want to hear back. So we'll find a way of doing that. If we can provide you with the data up front on a map-based information, then we will. And you can have opportunities to feedback, and I'll make sure that the team do that. They have been doing already consultations on changes to sites locally. That's already been the case. I will continue to take that route going forward. But yeah, I totally accept your point, and it's something we talk about all the time.
Happy with that, Mark, or any follow-up? Okay, great. So next we've got hand up from you, Councillor Alexander.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thanks, Richard, for that. Obviously, yes, supporter of changing the way we manage parks, and we've got some great examples of where that's been happening over the last few years and really successfully. I've got Trimside behind me here. We've got an area for play and a community orchard and lots of little trees, and it's just massively better than what it was, not just for the ecology, but for us, I think. One area where there is sometimes upset is over the cemeteries, and obviously got one in Shirehampton, and I do think cemeteries should be managed differently, but sometimes people turn up once a year, and they misinterpret what has happened as just a lack of respect and lack of concern, poor maintenance. So all I would say is, if we're going to make changes, can we have some really clear signage in the cemetery itself, so that, explaining what we're doing and why we're doing it, so that people understand that it isn't lack of respect.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. I went around nearly all our cemeteries last month, and we're talking to the teams operating there. I mean, one of the changes, I guess, that's come in the last few years is where you've got graves very close together, you can't mow. You're basically strimming. So a single operator using a strimmer, it's incredibly labour intensive. And one of the ways they used to cut down on that labour is by using herbicide. And now that's something we don't do anymore in those sites. We might do it occasionally or in certain circumstances, but generally we've rolled that back. Now what that means is we can't put in additional resource into strimming tasks. We just don't have the resource to do it. So we're having to make choices about where we maybe designate areas for wildlife and areas that we keep neat and tidy. In some cemeteries, that's fairly straightforward in terms of trying to locate things where there are much older graves. and there are less people going to be visiting, obviously, loved ones' graves, then that's something where we can roll back the maintenance and call that a wildlife area. And you're right, we need to signpost that that's what we're doing. In other areas, of course, we'll need to upkeep a high maintenance regime for obvious reasons. So that's the reason the more areas have been left, is if we're not using herbicides, we simply can't replace that herbicide function using mechanical means. There just isn't the staff to do it. So we've had to start zoning. So again, as mentioned to Councillor Weston, if we haven't got that zoning right, then I'm happy to hear about that. And we can obviously add that zoning to our map information as well that we can provide to you. But I know that the team are conscious about signage, so I'll pick that up with them about Shirehampton.
Thanks. No, the only complaint I've had this last few months has been about the two-stroke engine from the Strimmer actually going 8 hours, and someone sitting at home in their bedroom, people working from home, and it does take about 8 hours, I believe, according to the correspondent, in order to trim around all those graves. It's pretty wearing. So yeah, I think that's not the solution, is it? Yeah, we need to zone, and we need to cut down on the use of two-stroke engines, particularly, I think. Thank you, but thanks.
Thanks for that, Don. From me, Richard, just to kind of echo what's been said in terms of the ability to let residents know what's going on, because we do get certain demographics who will complain about the grass not being cut. So and I very much echo what Don said, not just for cemeteries, but also for any other areas where perhaps the grass is being left to grow. And my question really is, are you kind of relying on us as councillors to get the message out as to what's going on, or is there sort of an active from the council to get the message out as well in any way?
Well, we already do have information online. The information doesn't stretch to people being able to access a map which sets out what our grounds maintenance is. But I'm hoping to publish that next year, and then we'll be able to keep that map up to date as we're rolling out or managing for nature. Obviously, if we're consulting locally on changes, then we would hope that the local community will understand what we're trying to do. I mean, interestingly, what you just made me think there with your question is, I remember I looked at public inquiries about 2 years ago. I asked specifically, how many public inquiries do we get about grass needing to be cut short and shorter, and how many inquiries do we get about grass being kept longer? And just a couple of years ago, it was 90 cut it short and 10% longer. And I did the same exercise last month, and it's moved to 65-35, still being kept shorter. But if you like, the message that we need to maybe manage more sensitively going forward is starting to take hold.
That's good to hear, actually. And one further question. At Eldeby Walk Park, I was walking along with some council officers in the area, and some local residents came by, and they were concerned about safety in the park, perhaps more to do with lighting. But in terms of sort of sight lines and maybe sort of making sure that there is visibility for people walking in parks, is that a consideration at all?
Yeah, it's a very good point, and also because we have such we have quite a high number of new trees that get planted every year in parks, because we're increasing. We have targets to increase tree canopy, so that means tree planting, which does affect sight lines, affects functionality. I don't think, if I'm honest, in the past we've got that right. What we did introduce last year, beginning of last year, I think, internally is a new kind of quality assurance process, which Susie's part of as well, where we bring all tree planting proposals in front of a number of, they are internal experts, if you like, within my service, but we really do consider safety and visibility and views through sites and that sort of thing is one of the main things we're looking for. So I'd like to think we've got that better, but I do admit that we've probably missed that in the past. But as more and more and more trees are going into sites, it's something we have to be really acutely aware of.
Thanks, really appreciate that answer. Have we got any more questions for Richard at all from councillors? No? Well, thanks for that update, Richard. Really appreciate it. I don't know if you want to hang around or...
Well, I think Susie was, I don't know if Susie's got any project updates to give, but that would be the next date if possible.
That's what I was going to do. I was just going to, I can see that Councillor Dudd's got his hand up, but I was going to just run through the current projects. I know you got an update in August that was sent out, but I was just going to update you on those projects that are...
Can I just check what Councillor Dudd wants to ask a question on?
Yeah, I just wanted, it was on that actually. So I was just wondering what the latest was with the basketball court at Doncaster Road Park.
Yeah.
The basketball court project. Thanks.
It is, well, it's the new ends are up. That's been finished. There wasn't enough money in the budget to do the line marking, but I know that the community lead on that is looking to get quotes to actually do the line marking for that. But the basketball court, the goal ends are up, and that's, yeah, so that's complete now.
Okay. No, because I was walking past there maybe about 3 or 4 days ago, and it actually didn't look. It doesn't look like it's changed very much at all. So I don't know how much money we spent on it, but it doesn't look like a very. I mean, that's why I was asking, because it looked like nothing had been done. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, that's
so
strange. Because it's had 2 new goal ends, because it had one goal end, didn't it? Which I think if you're walking past, depends if you're walking past in the park, I suppose. And I haven't seen it personally myself, but there was one blue like goal end nearest to the path, if you like, and then there was just a goal going the other way to the house's side, and I know that was causing a lot of issues, because if the balls went that way, they could go into the long grass and things. So we've now put 2 goal ends. The sides are still open, which was at the request of the group. They did want to have possibly the existing goal ends like put side on, so that if you like, there was opportunity to shoot hoops like kind of four ways, if you like, but actually play games just one way. But they weren't in good enough state to be able to replace those. But I know that we haven't done any work to the surface, so the surface is still the same, which was it was in okay condition. It did have a bit of a crack down one side, but it was it's like a bit of subsidence right on the edge of the court. So I know that the community lead on that, Matt, he's looking to raise some funding through his group to get that done, that repaired, and then get line markings done on the court, which will make it look a lot different, I think.
Okay. I thought my understanding of the project that all along it was sort of a match funding kind of project. So we'd put some money on the table, and there'd be other money coming from other sources. So it sounds like it's just been our money that's been used so far. Then
it is our money that's just been used so far, but they're looking to match that for the surfacing and the painting, and it is coming from I can't remember his surname, but the lead on it from the basketball group.
Yeah. Okay, all right, thanks.
Do you want me to
yes, please, Susie.
Update on the rest? I think, Rich, you don't have to hang around. I know you were wanting to.
So I'll listen in. That's fine.
Okay. All right. So I'll just update on the projects that are on the ground at the moment. I think I said it in the March meetings that the money for Vincent Close play area was going to move over to Beverston Gardens, so that there was 9,718. So that's going over to Beverston Gardens, and Beverston Gardens it went out to tender. It went out twice to tender, but we had two good bids come back this time, and it's just been awarded. So we're looking to that to start on site this autumn. I haven't got the programme in front of me, but that is looking to finish by the end of this financial year, which is good news. And yes, and that's 9,000 is just being held as a bit of contingency. So if it's not used, it can be moved to other play projects, because I know that was something that you wanted to happen with that money, was to put it into play in the area. So let me go back to Blaze Castle outdoor gym. That's had the tender. It's been through all the QA. Richard was mentioning about our QA processes internally, so that's going through that process now, and we'll be going. It's gone through that process, sorry, and we'll be going out to tender shortly with a build probably early next year, I would have thought. Looking to be. There's Portway barrier, which Councillor Alexander knows that's been complete now. Looks like it's always been there. We used an old barrier, so it's just that's been completed. That was completed back in May, actually, and I think that's it.
Okay, thanks, Susie. Question from you, Councillor Weston.
Thank you very much. Just say on the Blaze Gym, I've not seen any of the tender documents, so I'm not quite sure if how specific we've been, or is it have been quite a general, we want to build a gym. What are your ideas for a gym? This is our budget, and see what they come back at. Because at the moment, I don't think Don or any of the Avonmouth councils, Pedro and I haven't seen any of that side of detail.
We haven't got to. It's not gone out to tender yet. They've been.
But we're not being specific in that tender. We're being quite generalised, are we?
There's definitely a where it's going to be, which is we've had quite a lot of discussion about, because obviously English Heritage needed to be involved in that, in where the gym was going to be. We've spoken to the group about what kind of kit that they wanted, and yourself, haven't we? So we're going out with that brief that it has to be kinetic gym equipment. We've given them a footprint of it's got to go here, it's got to go so that it's far enough away from the trees, and it's to keep the sight lines down. There's safety surfacing, but that's got to be a colour that will fit in. The equipment's got to be a colour that won't stand out in that area, so it still maintains view down to the house and things like that. So we have got, so there's that. I'm sure Mike can share that with you. He's actually on leave this week, but so it hasn't actually gone out to tender, but I'm sure he can share the brief with you. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Anybody else got questions for Susie? I've just got one myself in terms of the parks related SIL applications for this year. Obviously, the stage 2 deadline passed just recently. I've got kind of no visibility of what's happening with the sort of parks, because parks are going to look after themselves, and I just wondered if you were sort of you or somebody else will be able to sort of update with us about how what's happening with the stage 2 part of those sealed projects that we put in.
Yeah, the ones that we're putting, I have the Fonthill Park one and the Elderbury Walk one. I'm filling out those forms, so they're going to be sent out quite soon from my side of it over to communities. The Crow Lane lighting and the Masculine Avenue CCTV is going to go over to because that's not Parks land. So that's sorry, the Crow Lane one. No, the Crow Lane one I don't think it's Parks land either, is it? Because it's around. It is Parks land. Yeah, but it's because it's lighting. We don't. Richard, you might be able to come in a little bit here because, as far as I'm concerned, with lighting, even though street lighting maintain our lighting in parks, whether it's something that they need to they need to comment on it for sure. But whether it's something because we own the land, we need to put in the application.
Probably, and then we'll be asking highways to maintain the lighting going forwards, which there will be charges for.
Okay, I see we've got a hand up from Mark.
Yeah, I would say at this point you don't need to worry about this one going forward because it won't be going forward. We had the budget come back, and it was astronomical. I think our budget for the 4 wards is 30,000, and this was 6.5 times that. So we're questioning the numbers and the figures, but it's going to need more work than we have in this window. So it might come back next year, but it's not proceeding to stage 2 at this point. The straight economics have ruled it out.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Well, if there are no further questions, thank you, Susie. Thank you, Richard, for giving us the update today, and we'll let you get on with the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. So, next item on the agenda is Waste and Neighbourhood Enforcement Team update. Just to say that this has been recorded. Welcome to Ken and also Councillor Blenkinsop, who's joined us now.
Yeah, hi all. So I'm here to give an update on collections and then a little bit on fly tips, and then I'm happy to take any questions so. You're aware that we went through a period of about 18 months of poor collections, and since I would say the end of January, we've been on a downwards trend with performance, so that the number of missed collections, the number of drop roads has continued to improve, and we've had some updates to the Environment and Sustainability Committee, which sort of outline that sort of trajectory. There has in recent weeks been a few issues regarding our refuse collection vehicles. They are coming up to 8 years old, and the compaction bit at the back of the vehicles is wearing out, because if you think of metal grinding on metal, it gets thin, and then that causes catches and all of that sort of thing. So Bristol Waste are investing in a refurbishment regime on those vehicles to improve the reliability of them and stop downtime and drop roads and associated poor performance. On the recycling side, we are still balancing the challenge of excess cardboard for the existing fleet. However, we are managing that. So if it isn't collected, we'll send out an RCB to collect it thereafter. As Councillor Weston and Dud will know, we are looking at the replacement vehicle fleet, which is going to be redesigned to have more capacity for the collection of cards moving forward. That is generally the update on the on collections. I mean, if you have any particular repeat problematic roads which you feel are dropped or are dropped, then I'm happy to have them reported either via email to me or raised now, and I'll get them logged so we can monitor them to ensure that the collections occur when they should.
Councillor Blenkinsop.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. It hasn't been an issue for a little bit, but I do bring that because I did have a few constituents email about this, which was the area around Avonmouth, the sort of Napier Road, or near the community centre and the train station. I did have some complaints around the cardboard collection, so it's really good to hear that that's being looked at. But just wanted to make you aware of that one.
Yeah, I mean, is that we near the train station in Avonmouth, we do have some on-street communal bins for the HMOs. Could it be that those banks are causing the problem more than the actual cardboard for the streets itself?
There were some issues around collections in those, so that is very possible as well.
Yeah,
so that might be worth a look at.
All right, no problem. Okay. Any other queries?
And I'd just like to ask a couple of things on cardboard, I guess. I don't know if it's just my perception, but the sort of packaging from Amazon these days seems to be a little bit less than it used to be. I wonder if you've noticed that cardboard collections has gone down at all. I suspect not. But also, I think coming up to the Christmas period, we're going to get a lot of cardboard, as you well know, coming in. And I think that was a problem for you last year. So I just wondered if you have got any sort of comments on how prepared you will be for that.
So, right, okay, that's good question, Councillor Self. So, what I would say on that is, we are not noticing a change in cardboard habits yet. Although totally note what you're saying, that Amazon are trying to reduce their cardboard packaging element, and hopefully that does have an effect. But at the moment, on the whole, probably some people are buying a bit more and offsetting the reduction of some of it. So, I mean, regards Christmas, Bristol Waste have had a workshop in August. I was there. They had project team set up, reviewing the poor performance of last year to see how we could improve and come up with a better regime for our the servicing of the Christmas period. Now, part of that is the hiring of additional vehicles that will be deployed to specific areas to ensure that cardboard is collected, but they will do specific rounds. So it's almost like a shadowing to deal with the volume. So they're using some of the data that they experienced from last year to inform this year. I think last year there was a number of issues that culminated in the poor performance. One was we had the ongoing collection issues, and the servicing wasn't right with the crews, the management wasn't there. Then we went into a period of sickness, and if you look, when we looked at the sickness levels acutely before Christmas, it meant that Bristol Waste went into Christmas with lots of drop work and having to catch up. The management was off sick, so a number of management positions were off sick, so the management wasn't there to manage them. And then there was also a level of the volume was a lot greater than anticipated. The what was the other thing? And there were a few breakdown issues. So we now have a far better handle on the management element. There's a new operations director in, and he is cascading down sort of responsibility to his teams. And I saw it firsthand with the workshops they had on Christmas, how he's engaging with different teams within within Bristol Waste to break silos and get them working across the board and come up with ideas and help be part of the solution. So I can definitely see there's a different working environment there, which is welcome and is seeing improvements. And I think we are planning for it. Communications are being looked at. We're looking at maybe a potential bin hanger this year to remind residents on the days and how they can manage things. And also one of the things that we might be coming forward with is a booking system for Christmas trees. So if you want to get rid of your Christmas tree free, you book it, and then we allocate a day, and then it's put out. So we try and collect streets at a time, rather than what's happened in the past. We just send out the vehicles and they drive around collecting Christmas trees whenever they're put out, which is a really poor and inefficient way of doing it. So we're trying to. This year will be the test bed potentially for just trying to be more efficient on that element. And that's where that's where we are. We're engaging with our housing colleagues as well, because obviously servicing of blocks is acute over the Christmas period, so that's already underway as well. Number of things are sort of in place and happening. Councillor Weston?
So I just say I really like the sound of the Christmas tree idea. How soon can you get? I realise not everyone is thinking about Christmas like I am. It's 100 sleeps to go, by the way. But for those of us that are, how soon can we get communications on this to get it out there? My worry is, you see, if we wait till late December, people are already locked in and ignoring all social media, I hope.
Part of it will be the bin hanger. So you'll have a QR code on the bin hanger that you can scan, and it will take you straight through to the booking. We're just trying to see if we can get it delivered with the IT at the moment. So it's if we're at a cut-off phase by the end of the month, if we haven't got it working, we won't be coming forward. If we can, there'll be a QR code with the bin hanger, a timetable for collection, and that all will help, hopefully, engage most residents to use it, or a fair proportion.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
Shall I move on to fly tipping?
Yes, please. Thanks, Ken.
So I do have. Bear with me 1 sec. Sorry, I've got two screens up and I can't find the bit I'm after. Okay. So we've got the new Fix My Street web interface up and running. That was up and running since the mid-February. And what we've seen is actually the rollout of the system was relatively pain-free for these sorts of IT interface experiences. We have had a few glitches where different land types have caused issues, and there's been like an overlap. It's a shame that parks have left, but there would have been fly tips on the parks coming through to Bristol Waste, and they'd be closing them down, whereas parks deal with fly tips on their land. So there was a few little interfaces like that, but they were resolved. And certainly to middle of July, approximately where am I? 354 reports of different issues like fly tipping and mainly fly tipping were reported. So in a 5-month period, 354 reports for Avonmouth and Lawrence Weston. Now half of those were closed, half a number about another 50 were in action, and then there were some closed because they couldn't be refixed. Now we're working with Bristol Waste, and we have since July been working with them to improve that sort of management, because Fix My Street has pushbacks to the residents to say your problem has been collected or your problem has not been closed, and if it's closed and there's nothing happens, it's creating second points of contact or complaints through to the street scene and enforcement team, which you would expect. It's good because it's enabling us to have some data, and it's enabling us to interrogate this, how Bristol Waste are managing the reports that are coming through. And we have been on a journey of driving the improvement in that service. I would say the other area that you have in your area is Lawrence Hill. Southmead had 227 reports. Half of those again were actioned. Another 40 were left to be done, leaving about 89 that were closed, and we have chased up on. We are working, like I say, on that to improve it. One of the bones of contention, I know, for probably some of you in and around the housing stock. So actually, we are meeting with housing to look at the level of service that they receive from a fly tip removal service. They also have bulky waste, a service from Bristol Waste. But what we've seen since, I think, 2018 is the demand of bulky waste clearances from rooms that they have on their blocks, and also the number of fly tips on the housing estate has actually increased. So what we've done is we're putting a proposal together to bring in line fly tip removals to a 72-hour period, but it requires housing to invest more in the service. That is an ongoing discussion. I've got the proposal, taking it to Bristol Waste. In the meantime, I have got an extra vehicle out removing fly tips from the housing estate to address the concerns and problems that, say, for example, Councillor Dudd has seen earlier in the year. Bit more information. There has been some significant fly tips on private land or on land. So by the Travellers Camp on King's Western Lane, there's been a really big fly tip, and my team are investigating that to give you just to make you aware, because you may have driven past it or seen it. And there's also one down further opposite the Asda warehouse where there's been a fly tip on some private land there, and my team are investigating that to look at there's more of an organised fly tipping there, so we're trying to catch the people responsible. Dom?
Thanks very much, Ken. That was really helpful. And sorry to raise particular instances in a meeting like this when other people have got other things to do, but Pilgrim's Way in Avonmouth is one I did send on to you. The land is labelled on our mapping system as a Robin Cousins Sports Centre, which obviously isn't the case, hasn't been for 20 years. So those who are picking it up said, well, this isn't highways land. It's borderline, really. Obviously, the trucks come in on the highway and it's tipped, and half of it's fallen on the pavement, half of it's gone over. Meanwhile, you've got two houses on that road basically sitting in the middle of a fly tip, and evidence in there because I found the evidence and sent it to neighbourhood enforcement. So I just really like that cleared, because I'm afraid the person who did it is brazen and is going to come back.
No, I've forwarded that today. One of the street scene officers has been in with Bristol Waste. We have a mapping system that sort of shows that all of Pilgrim's Way is private land, is highway land. So even if it's off a bit, we're getting that action. So that should be in place. And if you've sent evidence through, enforcement will be following it up.
Yeah, thanks. Mr. S went out there. He said himself and took someone with him the next day. So I was really pleased about this. I hope they found somebody. But yeah, I mean, we've got access to Pinpoint, and Pinpoint shows that as both adopted road and council property. The bit under the motorway has always been a bit contentious because no one's quite sure where National Highways, BCC land ends and begins. So I accept that's a bit challenging sometimes. But thank you very much for your hard work.
Sure. Councillor Breckinshaw.
Thank you, and I'd echo Don's point on the hard work. It's also really good to hear about that one in King's Western Lane being cleared. But I do want to make that point in terms when it comes to close, and I appreciate sometimes it is private land and things are a bit more complicated, but when people do make the complaints and they're closed, there does seem to be a lot of a lack of trust in the service, and then things don't get reported anyway because why bother, and so on and so forth. It's been a bit of a fight to get people to sort of take the process seriously in that case. So the more that we can make that more responsive and more informative is probably the better. I've also had a few older constituents complain about what I think we would term digital exclusion. They've had a bit of trouble getting to grips with the new Fix My Street. I appreciate that for the vast majority of people, the feedback has been really positive, to be fair. But I did want to make you aware that for some people, older constituents, they are finding it a bit of a challenge. And if there are alternatives I can suggest to them, that might be helpful.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, what I would say is there's the enforcement email address, if and they can email that rather than report online. Otherwise, they can always put a call through to the CSC team, but we would be trying to avoid that because of the additional resource requirement on that. But it is there for people who don't have IT or are less IT capable. So there is a capability of that, and the CSE team can use the system to then complete it on their behalf.
Any more questions for Ken on fly tipping?
Okay, well,
can I just make one comment? First of all, to say thank you for all you're doing. I really appreciate the efforts that you put into to do these, pick up all these fly tips. I think they really do annoy residents and keep us councillors busy. But just one sort of point I just want to make is I was aware that South Gloucestershire were successful in prosecuting a bad fly tipper recently, and that got some sort of local press. And sort of a general comment, I don't know how we're doing in terms of sort of catching these fly tippers, the particularly bad ones. I don't know if you've got any sort of comment on that at all, Ken.
So it's a bit of a gripe from my team is that they catch lots of people and they have crushed tipper vans and all of that sort of thing. And historically, we haven't really gone to the press with that. And one of our comms team said that when there was a video of a fly tip vehicle getting crushed that we had, that could have been reused, and it was the reason to not publicise it. My team and Kurt James, who most of you probably be aware of, really want to raise the profile and get that sort of thing published because the team see the South Gloss reports and the press releases, and they want to be making a splash themselves. So there is lots of good work, but we just need to get better as a council at promoting it. So point noted, and we're working on it.
I really appreciate that, and I was walking along Doncaster Road just this afternoon, and a van went along that dare I say it looks a bit dodgy, but there you go. Anyway, so yes, over to you, Ken.
It's not me that does all the hard work; it's the enforcement team in Bristol Waste. I sort of sit in my ivory tower, so to speak, or City Hall. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Ken. And so we've got other departments' updates on the agenda, but I don't think we have any. Item 6 on the agenda is discussion on local priorities.
Councillor Self,
yes,
apologies. There is an update from just a brief email from the property assets and infrastructure, if you don't mind. I'll just update on that. Thank you.
Yes, please.
So Pete Anderson has said that there is no new surplus and they are soon taking a paper around for disposal, but this relates to commercial area, that there are no new CAT updates or applications from the CAT board.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Julia. I must admit, I suspect some councillors understood that a bit better than I did, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So we had an item 6 on the agenda, which was discussion on local priorities. I don't know if anybody's got anything they want to say in this meeting. We've been going now for just over an hour, so kind of leave that as an open invitation to anybody who wants to speak. No? Oh, Tom.
Well, I could make the brief point of course, our local priority must be the Avonmouth and Lawrence Western ward, but in all seriousness, considering the amount of fly tipping that was mentioned by Ken just then, and considering the amount of problems that causes for our neighbourhoods and for people on, just the constituents in general, I do wonder if we ought to, how we feel about supporting his, or at least engaging with his discussions going on with housing about more resources to it.
Yeah, I do sort of feel myself that a bit more time with Ken talking about fly tipping would be very useful, even if it's just a kind of informal discussion. Mark?
Well, as it turns out, Chair, Ken will be at our next BS10 Community Forum in the Greenway Centre in November.
Excellent. There we go.
Ken's coming, is he?
He is. He is confirmed.
Okay.
We have the police inspector and neighbour enforcement coming, so it's all. Yep.
That's good news, Mark. I thought you were going to say that Henbury and Brentry is the most important ward, but
to be honest, it doesn't need vocalising. You all know that.
Yeah. Anything else from anybody else? Well, thanks for joining today, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the evening. Thank you.